All right, kids, so Mikey here from Martial Arts Rebellion. I wanted to talk about what started me on my martial arts journey. And it all comes down to that first ass whooping. Well, you know, actually, now that I think about it, my first ass whooping was from my mom, right? Many ass whoopings came from my mom, but I couldn't really fight her. So the first ass whooping that came from someone other than my mom was from this kid by the name of WHOOPIN. Now, that was his nickname. I can't remember what his real name was. All I knew is that he was WHOOPIN. WHOOPIN was this kid who lived in the apartment complex. I lived in this apartment complex in Madera, California. And it was pretty big, and I'm pretty sure everybody in that apartment complex was on some sort of government assistance. A lot of poor people in Madera in general. It's actually nicknamed the Badlands. A lot of gang violence, a lot of drugs and addiction in Madera, California. That's not to say that there's not good people too. I'm just talking about my history in the apartment complex in Madera, California, and my first ass whooping by WHOOPIN. So, we moved into this apartment complex from Nevada. Now, in Nevada, Reno, Nevada, I was pretty well-liked kid, right? I went to a school and had friends, and I was like 6 or 7 at the time, and we got evicted from that apartment and had to move. So my mom's sister got us an inn in her apartment complex in Madera, California. Now when we moved there, I remember my first day. My cousin Timmy lived there. And I was really happy to see him because, you know, we were like best friends at that age. And, you know, he was taking me around, showing me the place. We were like playing catch with a football or something. And then I remember like slowly like kind of felt like people were surrounding us. And I was like, oh, more friends, right? You know, when you're surrounded by gang violence as a kid, you tend to emulate what you see, right? So what it was, you know, kids were kind of sizing me up. What's up with this new guy? Like, what's he about, right? I was naive, didn't know shit about fighting, didn't know shit about keeping your mouth shut, right? And so WHOOPIN, you know, he checking me. Like, what's up? What's up, dude? What's up with you? Like, where are you from? This kind of stuff. I'm like, what? Where am I from? I don't even know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, I don't remember how we got into it, but he talked about, I will kick your ass. And I'm not knowing anything about fighting, and I was like, no, you won't. Nuh-uh. I'll get you in a headlock and then punch you. You know, these are like fuzzy memories right now, but I remember talking about getting him to a headlock and not being scared at all because I had no idea what the fuck I was in for, right? And I remember my cousin Timmy kind of looking at me like, dude, shh, stop, you know, you don't want to be talking that way, right? So nothing happened that night, that day anyways. We played our game and I even made a couple other friends. I remember Gary and his brother Michael, and you know, we hung out, had fun, and it was cool. But I think it was like a couple weeks later, you know, so we had the apartment complex. You could think about a big square U, kind of like how they have prisons now, so they can run the yard. In schools, now that you think about it. Yeah. Anyways, so if you have a line of apartments right here, a line of apartments right here, and a line of apartments right here, and here's the parking lot. We used to ride our skateboards on the sidewalk here. I was on my knees on the skateboard. We used to push them like this, right? Boom, boom. Really crappy old skateboards. And WHOOPIN's apartment was over here, and I'm riding, boom, and then I end up crashing around here, and I remember there was like this big wood fence right here where they had like water meters and stuff behind it and stuff. And I crashed right here, and WHOOPIN came out and was like, what's up? Started talking smack to me. And again, I don't know about the streets at this point, right? So I said something stupid like, "Why don't you shut up, butt face?" And this is what happened. He grabbed me by the shirt, slammed me into I'll never forget this, right? Slammed me into the wooden fence and proceeded to take his right hand and but it was more like, blood just out of my face. He throws me on the ground and fucking kicks me right in the ribs, and then that was it. And I was bawling, blood coming from my mouth, crying, screaming bloody murder, right? My cousin Timmy just watched, right? What could he do, right? And he grabbed me. We go tell my mom, "Mommy, blah, 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 kick my ass." I didn't say kick my ass, but I can't, blah, blah, blah. My mom ends up running down there. She's screaming at his mom. Her mom's screaming at his mom. It turns into this whole big thing. Next thing you know, we have frickin' neighbors coming out. The landlord gets involved, all because I didn't know how to protect myself. I got my frickin' ass whooped. And I remember after that, a couple days later, and you're a kid. I'm a kid. When you're a kid, you don't realize consequences about things, right? Your prefrontal cortex doesn't even fully come in. Doesn't even fully, what am I looking for? Form. Thank you. Fully form until something like 21. So I don't know consequences of my big mouth talking shit to someone who's checking me, right? And I remember thinking about that, dude, you need to be careful here, right? You need to keep your mouth shut. And for, I want to say 2 years, I was terrified in that apartment complex. I did not talk shit to anybody. And I have other ass whoopings, right? From that point on, I was a target until I decided to stick up for myself. So 2 years I was terrified until I got my first karate teacher. My mom went to AA and NA, and she met a karate teacher at AA. And she said, because at this time since my ass whooping, all I cared about was fighting. I would watch old kung fu movies. I loved the Ninja Turtles. I wanted to be a Ninja Turtle. I wanted to be a ninja, right? I would punch pillows. I didn't know what I was doing, but I would kick stuff, elbow stuff. WWF was huge. I was an ultimate warrior in my head, right? But I didn't know shit about fighting until I met that karate teacher. My mom said, "Mikey, he knows karate." And I was like, "Really? Really?" And she's like, "Maybe he'll teach you. Go ask him." And I was a shy kid, right? But the first martial artist I ever met in my life was this guy. And I went right up to him. I pulled on his shirt and I just said, "Hey, sir, will you teach me karate?" And he agreed to do that. It was my first instructor. And you know what the crazy thing is like, I feel like I blanked out his name. Isn't that silly? I only had him for about 2 months, and I had a handful of lessons, but he ended up dying of an overdose. Can you believe that shit? But what I will tell you is the first lesson I ever got in martial arts, the first thing he had me do was knuckle push-ups on the linoleum floor. And I remember my little scrawny body there doing my first martial arts lesson, refusing to fail. And at that point on, my martial arts journey was on, right? He taught me how to hold a proper fist. He taught me some kind of bullshit grab counters, right? But this is the guy that taught me how to punch and how to truly punch. And I'll have you know, Wedo got to taste that motherfucker a little bit later. Yeah. Right? So that's my story of my first ass whooping. And that's the start of my martial arts journey. I'll never forget that first lesson, and I'll never forget that first ass whipping. You know what? Maybe I should call my mom and try to remember his name. I kind of feel bad now not remembering that. It was a long time ago, right? So my question to you is, do you remember your first ass whooping? Do you remember your first martial arts instructor as a kid, right? Yeah, if you remember that stuff, put it in the comments, right? Let's chat about it, and be safe out there. All right.